Social Security benefits are about to do this, unless Congress does something, and soon, to resolve it. And you might be thinking, okay, I don't collect Social Security benefits. This sounds bad, but I'm not really sure how it affects me. But here's the problem. Not only is it bad for the folks who collect Social Security, but it has real downstream effects on the rest of us. See, the majority of Social Security benefits are spent quickly. In a National Academies review of representative payees, more than 75% reported that none of their beneficiaries' Social Security payments were saved for future use. And stepping back, Social Security is the foundation of income for a lot of older Americans. For about 4 in 10 retirees, it's 50% or more of their income. And for about 1 in 7, it's 90% or more. Wait, back up. Even though most of this money gets spent, they're still taking money out of our paychecks, so what's the problem? Well, today there are 2 main buckets that feed payments to beneficiaries. The 6.2% Social Security payroll tax most people pay, and a 6.2% match from your employer. The money gets pooled and paid out to beneficiaries. Sometimes more money comes in than goes out. And when that happens, the extra goes into a trust, which acts as a buffer if payments ever exceed the amount of revenue that's coming in. For years, that buffer grew, but with more beneficiaries today and fewer workers per beneficiary, that buffer peaked and is now being drained. And, according to the Social Security trustees, that retirement trust fund is supposed to be depleted around the year 2033. At that point, assuming Congress doesn't act, we'd only be able to pay about 77% of the scheduled benefits to retirees. So, if nothing happens, a lot of people will take a very real, very sudden hit to their income. And here's what that would mean. Older households spend most of their money on basic necessities. According to the Social Security Administration Expenditures Chart Book for households age 65 plus, the biggest shares look roughly like this. So, when we're talking about something like a 23% reduction in income here, we're not talking about discretionary spend. We're talking about real things like housing, transportation, food, things you can't just opt out of. And the ripple effects here are real. See, family members are going to have to help fill in the gaps. Local spending in these areas and communities will drop. Hospitals and clinics will see more unpaid bills. Safety net programs will get leaned on harder, things like Medicaid and food stamps and housing. And Washington may get pushed more towards borrowing more money or more taxes to cover these damages. And on top of direct impacts to the beneficiaries, their families, and their communities, there's a real larger impact on the broader economy. See, Social Security benefits are a huge source of steady spending in our economy. A National Institute of Retirement Security Analysis estimates that our yearly $1.38 trillion in benefits supported $1.6 trillion in GDP value added and 12.2 million jobs. And one analysis from the Bipartisan Policy Center estimates that even if only half of the scheduled benefit cut turns into reduced spending, consumption could drop by more than $320 billion per year on average, which comes out to be about 0.6% of GDP. So if this is the path we're on, what are our off-ramps? Assuming something gets done, the math is pretty simple. You either increase revenue, reduce the benefits being paid out, or some combination of both. And in Congress right now, you can see a few ideas that keep bubbling up. This won't be an exhaustive list, but let's go through a few of the off-ramps. One major approach, mostly from the Democrats, is to keep the beneficiaries whole, but to tax higher income earners more to make up for it. A current example is the Social Security Expansion Act that's currently floating through Congress. It proposes expanding benefits, often described as about $2,400, and extending solvency by applying Social Security payroll taxes to income above $250,000 a year. The pitch is basically most households won't pay more, but high earners will. And that will be enough to protect Social Security benefits, or in some cases expand them. The upside, of course, here is that it avoids broad benefit cuts. The downside is that some taxes will go up and it's politically challenging. The second off-ramp, which is more common on the Republican side, is to slowly reduce the benefits that exist today. And there are 2 ways to approach this. The first is to raise the full retirement age from 67 where it is today up to 69 or higher in the future. The other cost-saving option is to reduce how the cost of living adjustments get calculated each year. The idea would be that the yearly increases reduce and therefore save money over time. The upside of this, of course, is that this is fewer tax increases. The downsides are for many people, especially those who can't work longer into their 70s, this is essentially a benefit cut. The third off-ramp is a bit more unusual and is actually a bipartisan idea that's been floated around through Congress. Senator Bill Cassidy and Senator Tim Kaine are both backing the idea of taking that buffer that we talked about earlier and actually turning that into a sovereign wealth fund. That fund would essentially be taking that buffer and investing it and using the returns from that investment to help pay out Social Security. The upside here is it tries to improve the situation without raising taxes or cutting benefits. The downside, however, is that it includes real borrowing and real risk. And if for some reason that investment were to go poorly, 2033 would actually come here sooner. One interesting thing to note here, though, is the fact that you have even Tim Kaine and Bill Cassidy coming together shows you that there are folks in Congress that are actually worried about this issue and trying to resolve it. The fight here is just going to be over the off-ramp we take. So clearly there are a few ways to solve this, but preferably we'd like to keep these benefits whole, as we've shown how important they are to older Americans. And the longer we wait, the less off-ramps we have to get off at. So let's close with where we started. If nothing happens on this in the next 7 years, we're going to take a drastic hit to the income of millions of Americans. And the real reason this matters, even if you're not a beneficiary, is that there are giant ripple effects throughout the economy. They spread into families, local economies, our broader economy, into our health systems, into our broader social safety net programs, and even into Washington. Thanks for watching. And if you made it this far, feel free to give a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.